So we've got two different kinds of fiber here. We've got a chopped up matting and then like a fabric. Okay, so they both accomplish the same thing. They make the resin more rigid, but obviously they're very different, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both. The long story short is, I like to use this stuff when I'm covering like a large flat area or like a large slightly curved area without much detail, because what tends to happen with this is when it gets pinched up, like if you're trying to get it into a tiny detail, you'll end up with a weird kind of bunching and air bubbles. So the contrary is this stuff, which is great because what you can do is as you're putting it into your form, you can pull it apart and make it fit into all kinds of complex shapes. West Systems. One of the things I really like about this resin is the pump tells you how much to mix by. So 1 squirt from this pump plus 1 squirt from this pump, and you've got your proper amounts. Knowing what I know about this stuff, I'll do 2 pumps. I'm going to use my paint stirrer again. We're going to stir it up. The color actually changed a little bit. It turns a little bit of a darker amber. Okay, so the only real note I have on technique for this, and I've noticed that laying fiberglass tends to be a very individualistic thing. People do it differently. What I like to do is brush in a coat of the resin first, then I put fiber in, then I pat it all down with another coat. So I'll start with a little coat of resin.
Those edges.
Up in there, get it up in there. Like that? Okay, so there's a nice thick wet coat of resin on the inside. And now, for this particular one, I'm gonna go with the chop. And what I like to do is I pull it apart a little bit just to break up the edges, make it a little more flexible, because we've got a lot of curves and detail inside that this will need to shape to. Okay. And we want it up over the edges. So I'll put this first piece in, show you how it's done. You'll see. There, you'll see. You'll see. Okay, and now we repeat that, fill the whole thing up, and overlapping edges is good. As I get in the little wee bits. So you can see how I'm kind of like, depending on where I'm putting it, will sort of dictate the size of the strip I use. And this stuff, like I've got a big strip here, I'll just pull. See, I'm crazy, man. See how I did that?
You crazy.
It's wild.
Crazy with the fiberglass.
It's a madhouse in here. Got some pretty good coverage. So I'm gonna go in with the resin again. What you really see how the fiber sort of disappears? You don't really see white? That's what you want everywhere. You don't want to see fibers. And the great thing is if we run out of resin, I can just mix more. You don't need to be super thrifty.
How many layers of fiber did you see us doing?
That is a great question. I think for something like this, 1 layer should be plenty. One of the things I've mentioned in the past about these particular pieces is they're not load-bearing or interlocking. Like, you don't really need any strength. All they really need to do is maintain their shape. These aren't intended as structural pieces, they're purely decorative. Okay. This is the one I just finished. You can see there's really no white parts, and that's when you know it's bubbling up from one of the details underneath. Looks pretty good. Oh, there is a little bit right there. So what I can do is dab that down a little bit with a brush. we're done with this one. Now we just got to go finish the rest of them. It's been a couple hours now, and this is feeling pretty rigid. This particular resin usually needs overnight to fully cure, but I think we're at a point now where we can pull it out. Let's take a look at it. So let's do that. So there's no real approved technique for doing this. I just like to take my time, go around the edges first. Not bad. So here we are with the final product. It's pretty darn good. There's a couple little flaws, but nothing you wouldn't expect from a project like this. Let me show you over here. This is where I brushed the baby powder just a little too deep in the mold and didn't clear it out. You can see it's I didn't get any gel coat up in there, and there's a couple little bubbles down here. But again, to be expected for something of this complexity. Overall though, you can see we captured the detail pretty darn well. I am quite happy with this pull. We still obviously need to clean up the edges, which would be done with something like a Dremel tool or maybe a little coping saw to get in here. And be sure to wear gloves when you're doing that, because that stuff will go everywhere. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tutorial on fiberglassing. If there's anything else you want me and Ewan to do a tutorial on or a walkthrough, please write something in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when I do any future videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you for the next one.